Welcome to Roundtable, the official podcast of the National Professional Fishing League. I'm your host, Ken Duke, and for the next hour or so, we are going to talk all things about the NPFL Championship that is coming up on Lewis Smith Lake in Alabama. You know, if you saw the last episode of Roundtable that aired just yesterday on Sunday, you know that I have a theory that there are really three big components to any bass tournament. One is the fishery, one is the field, and one is the conditions. And yesterday we talked about the fishery, legendary Lewis Smith Lake. Today I want to dive in deeper and talk about the field, because the field is remarkably impressive for this, which is the third NPFL championship. And then, of course, we'll introduce our guests, which is going to be the highlight of the show, no doubt. But the field for this tournament is something that you need to know about if you're really going to enjoy the experience of this tournament. There are 42 anglers in this tournament. It's a relatively small field. It's not easy to qualify for the NPFL Championship, but there are 42 guys who did, and they come from 13 states. There are 7 from Alabama, 7 from North Carolina, 7 from South Carolina, 5 from Tennessee, 3 each from Florida, Georgia, and Texas. So those are the states that are most heavily represented. And obviously the fact that you got 7 Alabamans in the field and the tournament's on Lewis Smith Lake, you got to look hard at those guys as pre-tournament favorites. There are 6 anglers who are fishing their third NPFL championship. And that's impressive because this is the third NPFL championship. So you have guys like Barron Adams, Nick Brown, John Cox, Todd Goad, Brandon Perkins, and Patrick Walters, who have fished every single NPFL championship. You got to put those guys on a short list. They certainly know what this tournament's all about. They know what it takes. 13 anglers. So there are 6 guys fishing their third NPFL championship. There are 13 guys fishing their second NPFL championship. But by far, the biggest group are the group of anglers who are fishing their very first NPFL championship. And there are 23 of those anglers, and 18 of them debuted in the NPFL in 2025 to qualify for this 2026 championship. Both of the past NPFL championship winners are in the field. That would be Brandon Perkins from 2024 and Scott Hamrick from last year, 2025 on Lake Hartwell. And ironically, those guys are rooming together for this tournament. So that's pretty cool. And we're going to be talking with them on Roundtable. The 7 Alabama anglers in the field, you know, ordinarily you rattle off the fact that there are 7 guys from the state hosting the tournament, and maybe they're impressive, but maybe they're not. Well, this year, the guys from Alabama fishing the Smith Lake Championship are wildly impressive. I'm going to rattle them off alphabetically because they all have amazing resumes. Scott Canterbury won 2 NPFL events last year. He's a former Bassmaster Angler of the Year. Kyle Glasgow from Greene, Alabama, longtime NPFL guy, fishing his first championship. He'll be a threat. Matt Herron from Asheville, Alabama. He's been around a long time, qualified for a lot of classics. He has been wildly successful in the state of Alabama. It's not over until Matt Herron weighs in. Then there's Wes Logan. He was 10th in a BAS Open in April 2019 on Lewis Smith Lake. So he's got a track record here. He's done well. JT Russell, a young man from Crane Hill, Alabama, who put on a great season last year to qualify for this championship. His mentor, Gerald Swindle, is in the championship. And Gerald, of course, lives in Gunnersville. He has a very extensive history on Lewis Smith Lake, fishing in high-level national type events. He was 5th in a Bass Tour event back in February of 2004. He was 2nd in a Bass Open in May 2010, and he was 7th in yet another Bass Open back in October 2012. So he's got a lot of history here. He's done everything but win, and he's come very close. And finally, the last of the 7 Alabama qualifiers for this 2026 championship is Kyle Welcher. And, you know, there's an excellent argument that he's the most impressive of all because Kyle Welcher has fished the NPFL for 2 full seasons now. He's never finished worse than 18th. Never worse than 18th. Never out of the money. Never disappointed. And if the man is going to come out and win a big tournament, you got to certainly like his chances here in his home state on Lewis Smith Lake. There are other pre-tournament favorites too, though. It's not just all about the guys who have done well from Alabama. Scott Hamrick, as I mentioned, is going to be here. He's the defending NPFL championship winner. And Smith Lake just might lay out for him about like Hartwell did. You know, he was skipping a jig under a lot of boat docks. He was working a little bit offshore. This is a blueback herring lake, much like Hartwell. This is a lake where catching a largemouth every day that's a kicker fish is going to be important. Scott Hamrick has already established he can do that. Brandon Perkins, the other previous NPFL championship winner, is remarkably good in winter tournaments. There have not been a lot of winter tournaments in NPFL history, but Brandon Perkins has won about half of them. That's something that you don't want to dismiss very lightly. Then you've got Todd Auten out of North Carolina. Todd has 3 times in BASS Opens finished in the top 6. That's awfully impressive. That may be about the most impressive record for any angler coming into this tournament. So Todd Auten is going to be a factor. Hank Cherry, who won a tournament with BASS earlier this year, he also won the 2012 Bassmaster Open on Smith Lake. That one was in October. John Cox out of Florida, he was second in a Bass Open in April of 2019. Greg Hackney was 7th in a Bass Tour event in February 2004. And those are important because that's roughly the same time of year. Caleb Kufal won a Bass Open here in 2019. Jacob Porosnik won a Bass Open here in October of 2021. Then you got David Williams. He was 4th in a Bass Open in 2019. And Jason Williamson out of South Carolina, he was 9th in a Bass Open in October 2012. So there is not just an impressive field of 42 terrific anglers who fought hard to get here, but these guys are very well accomplished, and some of them have a terrific track record right here on Lewis Smith Lake. It's going to be a barn burner. A lot of guys are going to catch limits. Who can catch a little bit bigger fish? Who maybe can get a kicker largemouth each day or a couple of good largemouth each day? Can you catch 15 largemouth and blow this tournament out of the water? We're going to find out, and I'll be right back with my guests. He is just entering his 3rd season with the NPFL, and he's already fishing his 2nd championship. This guy is young. He's coming on strong. He's a super talent. I'm a big fan of his work. He also does a column on the NPFL website that's really good, really educational. The man is Corey Casey. Corey, welcome to Roundtable.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
Absolutely my pleasure. I'm a big Corey Casey fan, first of all. You do so much right, and you're an exceptional fisherman. And you got an interesting background because not only do you fish tournaments with NPFL, but you also run a guide service on Santee Cooper. How'd you get into that?
Yeah, so I started about 3 years ago, but I'm 3rd generation guy. My great granddad did it, and also my grandfather. So I was just kind of raised fishing, guiding. I'd go with him when I was growing up, and I always just had a passion for fishing. And then I don't know, about 3 years ago, the opportunity came about. So that's what we did. Started guiding, got our license. We do bass trips during the spring and a little bit in the fall, and then some catfish and striper trips, more family oriented in the pontoon boat. So those are fun as well. Santee has big bass, but they also have really big catfish. So,
well, speaking of big bass, you just fished a tournament on Santee in the last week or so, and I understand you had 35.30 pounds or something like that, and did not win.
Didn't win, finished 3rd. So I had 35.30, and then there was a 35.80 and a 35.70. So it was tough. Biggest bag I've ever weighed in, obviously, but also the biggest bags they've ever weighed in. So it's just, I don't know, Santee's just sits the grass. It's a different lake.
Can you be disappointed after? Can you be disappointed? You finished 3rd, and you know you're one of the best sticks out there. So everybody knows Corey Casey's going to be in the hunt, but can you even be disappointed when you catch 35 pounds?
I wasn't disappointed. I don't know, maybe other people would, but I mean, you catch the biggest back. I did everything I could do. I didn't lose any. I caught what was there, and I don't know, just got beat, but only by a few ounces. So I don't know. I wasn't mad at all. I'm still not mad. It's pretty crazy, really. But I guess I don't know whether they say that's fishing, but I'm not mad.
Well, hey, that's not the fishing I do. That's catching, that's demolishing, that's amazing. And also, you caught your personal best recently. Tell us about that.
I did. Yeah, a couple days before that, I actually ran a guide trip, and I just wanted to go back out, and I dropped him off about 3 o'clock, and I went back out fishing and caught a 10-pounder, 10 even. So that was my biggest fish yet. I had a 9-14 before that, so I didn't like crush it, but it's a big one, 10-pounder. Yeah,
that's a giant. Now this is after all that incredibly cold weather blew through, right?
Yeah. The cold kind of helps. Kind of that 90-10 rule. 90% of the lake has no fish, and 10% has all the fish. That's kind of how it was there for a few weeks. When you found one, you found a big school of them. So that's how you could get right so quick. That's about why it lined up to catch 35 pounds. Is you're not getting lucky. You're finding big schools of them and going through them pretty quick. So cold weather helps.
How can people find you and book a trip on Santee Cooper? Because it sounds like the fishing's amazing.
Well, you can Google me. I got a website, CoreyCaseyFishingandGuideService.com. And then I'm on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's the same thing, Corey Casey Fishing and Guide Service.
Well, I hope they will check you out, because I've gotten to know Corey over the last couple of years, and he's a fun guy to hang around with, incredibly knowledgeable angler. And you've been extremely successful in the NPFL. You're entering your third season. Your best finish was second last year at Santee Cooper, which was another barn burner of a tournament. And you've got 8 career top 40 finishes in just 12 events. There are not many guys on the tour who are your equal in that regard. It's very impressive.
It's been good. I've been very thankful, I guess, blessed, whatever. It's been really good since year one. Kind of just jumped in the fire, didn't know where I'd stand, didn't know if I could hang or get my behind whooped, and had a decent year one. I think my best finish for like 6th year one at Pickwick, with forward facing sonar. That was kind of my aha moment there. It kind of all clicked right there, and I had the biggest bag of the tournament, caught a 9-10 in that tournament, finished 6th, and kind of just been rolling with the momentum since then. Last year with no forward facing sonar, which I'm a little bit more comfortable with. Had some more consistent finishes, and then a couple tournaments where I feel like I took a couple of chances and it just didn't work out. But I don't know, 4 good tournaments, 2 bad ones. Finished 18th in AOI, getting ready for the championship. So it's been good.
Yeah, and of course this show is gonna be on during the practice period for the championship on Smith Lake in Alabama, February 26th through 28th, Thursday through Saturday. And when I look at the guys in the field, I think about the guys in Florida, and I think about you at Santee, and I think, my God, the waters you guys fish at home could hardly be more different than where you're going at Smith Lake. Is that a fair assessment, or am I wildly off base?
I've never been to Smith Lake, so you're telling me they don't have hydrilla and 200 foot of water?
Yeah, a lot of 264 feet of water, and of course, every tier of it is chock full of spotted bass. And so I'm recommending you just drag the bottom, find the deepest water near the dam, and drag the bottom with a Carolina rig or something. No, I don't think they're known for their vegetation. I don't think they have any cypress trees. The tournament could certainly be won in 5 or 6 feet of water, but it's very different than Santee.
Yeah, it is very different. Definitely Santee's different lake in the last 3 or 4 years with all the grass that they've let grow with the hydrilla and the eelgrass. It is. We keep saying it over and over. It's with the Elite Series is coming in May, and that they'll get some big bags there, and it's probably the best lake in the country. It's one of them. I know it's hard to say. Everybody thinks they have the best lake, but there's just so many big ones. But as far as the championship, there's no excuses. If you sign up to be a professional fisherman, it don't matter if you fish a lake that's 150 feet or 5 feet. You got to figure out how to catch them. That's how we qualified. That's what we need to do. So we'll just go figure it out.
I think I just heard you say that you've never seen Smith Lake before. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you haven't been there at all and haven't even navigated the place.
Oh, well, I did to go there for a day and drive around, but I didn't do any fishing. Just drove around and looked at what the lake looked like, kind of get a lay of the land, but no experience in fishing or trying to catch fish or what it takes to catch them in a tournament or how much weight it takes. I have no idea.
Well, now that you've got a couple of years under your belt as a touring pro, obviously you feel pretty comfortable in being able to assess a new body of water. How did you get there? How did you develop that mindset that, yeah, I can break this down in 3 days of practice?
I think just a lot of experience. It's just, yeah, it's cliche in fishing, but time on the water, the more you do it, the better you get. And that's just all there is to it. There's really no shortcuts. You can read magazines and watch videos and all that stuff kind of helps you, but until you can get out there and learn how to adjust every day and see something with your eyes and say, that's something that I could catch a fish off of, and maybe start to pattern with your eyes instead of electronics. There's no other way to do that than just do it. So it's just, we'll go and try to figure out a way to catch them. It could be shallow, could be deep. I have no idea. So,
well, I really admire. I watched you, of course, at the St. Lawrence River, where you had a top 10 finish, and that's another body of water that's radically different from your backyard on Santee. And I really admired the way you just threw yourself into it, and you did your study, you read as much as you could, you checked it out on the internet, and then you committed yourself to what it would take to win or do really well. How much of your preparation for a tournament like this championship on Smith Lake is done on the internet or through reading, and how much of it is done by maybe talking to some people who you know around that area?
Well, one, I don't really know that many people, so I don't really get that side of it. I know a few people, and I'm starting to learn that it's kind of important to have some teams out there or whatever, some networking. So trying to build that, but I don't really have much of that right now. So I do watch a lot of videos and just YouTube, but really that's what's different about the NPFL is you don't have forward facing sonar. So you have to go back to like 2015 to find tournaments sometimes where everybody's just not out in the middle scoping around, because those videos don't help you at all.
No.
But also I feel like I do a lot better if I just go somewhere and fish my instincts instead of trying to copy something that I saw online. But you just kind of blend the both and just winging it. Really, I'm a big wing it kind of person. So
I sense that, and I think that's so cool. You just said you just talked about, I don't know whether you use the word intuition or whatever, but talking about fishing your strengths, I guess, is maybe what I interpreted you to say.
Instincts.
Okay, instincts. Thank you.
Yeah.
How do you develop instincts on a type of body of water that you're not familiar with? This is a deep, clear, spotted bass, blueback herring, average 65, 70 feet of water, kind of put a spinning rod in your hand kind of lake, isn't it?
Well, I'm not really sure, but yeah, it sounds from the videos you watch. Yeah. But when you don't have scope, you're just going down the bank, and most banks around the country just look the same. You're just looking for something a little different. I think there's a lot of docks on Smith. Maybe that'll play. So maybe it's picking up on getting bites in docks that are a little bit shallower, or maybe a little bit deeper, or in the backs of pockets, or maybe the first couple on the points. It's going to just be stuff like that, or maybe fishing a dock that's out there by itself, an isolated dock. Maybe seeing some transitions in the bank where it changes from chunk rock to sand, or chunk rock to a kind of like a cut bank, or with a bunch of laydowns on it. I just kind of like look for stuff that looks different. Something I'm just driving down the lake and boom, that looks different. I'll go over there and fish it.
Now you travel with Jason Burroughs, who's another top stick in the NPFL.
And unfortunately, that is my travel partner.
Well, Jason's a terrific guy, and what's more, he's an outstanding angler. He gave it a great run at the 2025 championship on Hartwell, and he is the master of Hartwell most of the year. There's times of the year, like in the fall, when he doesn't do as well. But how much of that partnership benefits each of you, because you're the master at Santee and he kills it on the deeper, clearer herring, spotted bass lakes. Do y'all work closely together in a tournament?
Yeah, we do try to. I think we're completely honest with each other. I know, at least I know I am, and I think he is too. We talk to each other throughout the day, and we just really try to help each other out as best as we can. There's not really any secrets. If I catch a big one on something, I call him and say, "Hey, this is kind of what just happened to me." He'll do the same. We talk at the end of the night. We talk through tournaments. We try to help each other out, just the best that we can, without fishing directly on top of each other. So, but
Right.
I think that's why we both started fishing it in the same year. We both made championships both years.
Yeah.
We've been
You
good in
guys are
AOI. We both have good top finishes. It's just because we work together and we're honest with each other. And sometimes he probably helps me out a little bit more than I help him out, but I'm sure he'll tell you I've helped him out a little bit. But yeah, I don't know, it just works.
in a regular season tournament, I totally get how that kind of connection and that kind of cooperation really benefits. Is it different in a championship tournament where each of you really has only one goal, and that's to win? You're not trying to salvage a bad event and save some points. You're going for the win and nothing else, really, aren't you?
Yeah, well, the first championship that we fished was on Hartwell, which is his home lake. So it was definitely a little bit different. I didn't mess with him too much, and I know like pressure's on him is definitely more important for him to do good than it was for me. But this one, I think it would be great if both of us figured out a championship winning bite and we go into the last day and he's first and I'm second, or I'm first and he's second, and we just hash it out. That would be pretty cool. And I think both of us would try to get each other to be there. A 1-2 finish, as good as it gets.
That would be amazing. It reminds me, I just learned earlier today that Scott Hamrick, who won the 2025 championship, and Brandon Perkins, who won the 2024 championship, are rooming together for the Smith Lake championship. So that's way too much championship knowledge and background right there.
They're saying I just shouldn't show up because they're it's over.
What I've learned is Corey Casey always has a shot, and it's a better than ordinary shot.
Well, thanks.
So you should absolutely be there. But I do think it's fishing a championship is different than a regular season tournament mindset wise, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Regular season, you're for me now, other people, this is just my perspective. I just try to be consistent all year long. I don't, that's kind of where I got burned last year. I went into a couple of tournaments and thought that I knew the way to win the tournament. So kind of went out and said, I'm just going to try to win this one. Like Logan Martin's a perfect example. I was locked into the championship. It's the last tournament of the year. I could have finished 120th. I was making the championship. There's really no difference. So I kind of committed to something that I thought if it went right, I'd have a really good chance to win. But most of the time, you're just trying to catch as many as you can, squeeze out the most weight you can, get a check, move on. And if it's your time to win, I think it'll just happen. It'll just kind of come together, especially over 3 days. It'll just come together. But championship, yeah, going into this thing, I don't care if I finish 40th. I'm not going to fish for a limit. I'm going to try to figure out a way to get a few big bites. And if I don't, then I probably will finish 40th. But I don't think there'll be a point in this tournament where I run to a pocket just to try to get my limit. It's make or break. You're going for it or you're going home with a check either way. So it doesn't matter.
Do you have a feel for what a winning weight might look like? I know we got some funky weather coming in. We got a cold front that's going to knock water temperature down a bit. And then just as the tournament starts, it's going to start warming up again. It looks like kind of weather chaos.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like any of these Alabama lakes where it gets real tough, you hear that 15 pounds a day a lot, like 15 pounds a day I win it, 15 pounds a day I win it. But I don't know. I guess if you caught 15 pounds a day, you'd have a real good chance. But I don't know. Could somebody catch 17 a day? I have no idea. I don't think so. Or maybe it's 13 a day. So Never really know. Day one is usually a good judgment of I need to step it up and make some adjustments. So you come in with 11 pounds on day one, and a leader's got 17, you kind of know I
You're in
need to do
trouble.
something. Yeah, I need to do something a little different or it's going to get out of hand real quick. So I just
There's
kind of usually catch as many as I can, as much weight as I think I can catch, and evaluate after day one.
Yeah, there's an old saying, and you've heard it a million times, that you can't win it on the first day, but you can lose it.
You can't lose it.
I've seen a lot of guys kind of overshoot what it really took to stay in contention. You know, a lot of guys would think, oh, I've got to have 20 pounds to stay in contention. And then they get to the weigh-in and they found out if they had just had 13, which they might have been able to get easily, they would still be in the hunt. But because they were swinging for the fences or whatever, they had 7 pounds. So don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. I want to see you in the hunt on day 3. I asked you to bring a bait and a combo for me for the show tonight because I wanted to talk a little bit about whatever you thought was your MVB, your most valuable bait in 2025, because you had a stellar season. And what'd you pick for me?
Super secret. Try not to tell anybody.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Can't get these things anywhere.
Of course not.
Chatterbait.
Okay, is that a green pumpkin chatterbait?
That's green pumpkin. It's green pumpkin on green pumpkin on green pumpkin. Green pumpkin blade, green pumpkin skirt, green pumpkin trailer.
Is green pumpkin the greatest bass color in the history of ever?
I mean, it has to be. It is for me.
I'm not going to argue against it. I'll say that in Florida, black and blue, June bug plays a little better for me personally, but green pumpkin, my God, that's so good. All right, that looked like a ½ ounce. What size is that?
Yeah, always a ½ ounce for me. I'd say I say always. I'd say 95% of the time it's a ½ ounce. Every once in a while I'll go down to a 3/8. And then every once in a while I got a few ounce and a quarters I'll throw around, but 95% of the time we're doing a ½ ounce chatterbait.
What's special about the ½ ounce?
I think it just works better. The blade like itself, the chatterbait itself, it just works better. It has a different vibration in the blade. And I feel like I like to fish my chatterbait a lot of times as slow as I can reel. On my guide trips, I tell this to people all the time, cast it out there, let it sink to the bottom, and we're going to reel it as slow as we can reel it to make the blade vibrate.
And still feel that thump.
Yep. Because you can reel it too slow. If you reel it too slow, the blade just will never vibrate. So you just try to reel it as slow as you can with that blade vibrating. And if you're throwing a 3/8 ounce, you have to reel it a little bit faster to get the blade to vibrate. So sometimes you're reeling it too fast and your bait's up a little too high, and it's just not as efficient. But there's some times where I'm fishing really, really shallow, and I'll go to a 3/8 because the ½ ounce will kind of dig into the bottom or the grass or whatever a little too much. But it casts better. There's a lot of windy days in the springtime and on Santee. You can just cast it farther. You can fish it at different depths. You can fish it in 4 foot of water. You can fish it in 12 foot of water. Just all around, just better in my opinion.
And is your go-to retrieve just that slow roll near the bottom?
Yeah, most of the time. Like NPFL last year, this is what I caught them on, and you could. I was just casting out there and just letting it sink to the bottom and just reeling it as slow as I can, and they were smoking it. But you tick some grass every now and again, like you're kind of digging in the grass. I call the chatterbait like the 4-wheel drive of moving baits. It just comes through the grass better than traps are good, square bills are good, but the chatterbait, it just comes through the grass. It comes through the cover a lot better than anything else. So every cast that I make is efficient. Or sometimes with a rattle trap or something, you can't get the grass off of it, so you got to reel in and just kind of try again. But yeah, just reeling it slow, and then when that blade stops vibrating, you got one of two things: you got grass or a bass. So you shake off the grass or you pull into the bass, and it's pretty simple.
Well, you make it sound simple. Let's talk about the gear you throw it on. What do you like for a rod, reel, and line?
So I always throw it on 20-pound fluorocarbon. Once again, I say always. Probably 97% of the time, I'm throwing it on 20-pound fluorocarbon. I don't know. It just works. We got big fish on Santee. So that's kind of how I started throwing it, and it just works all over everywhere I went. I kind of never put smaller line on it. Maybe if I'm skipping it around docks, and like a 15 or a 17 will help me be a little bit more accurate. But other than that, I'm throwing it on 20. And I definitely like a 7.4. I've been throwing the Arc Invoker 7.4 rod for the chatterbait, or the Brandon Cobb. He's got a 7.3 glass rod. It's good for the chatterbait, but something that is long and I can make bomb casts. Always on a 6:4 gear ratio, because I don't want to fish it too fast. That's important to me. Sometimes you throw it. I get people and they got like an 8:1 gear ratio. It's just you can't fish it slow enough. So 6:4, 7.4 rod. Sometimes I'll go down to a 7.2 if I'm trying to throw it around trees, skip it around trees, or I need to be, once again, a little bit more accurate.
You mentioned a glass rod. You like a glass rod for that. And you mentioned pulling into the fish. Is that why you like that softer rod? It's not a sharp snap of a hook set. It's just almost like would it be like almost like a jerkbait set?
Well, it's more probably like it's more probably, I don't know, I'd say it's in between like a crankbait and setting the hook on a worm, like somewhere in that medium. Like, you're not like a crankbait. A lot of times you just kind of feel it and you just slowly pull into it, and then a worm, you're reeling down on it and just setting the hook as hard as you can. Whereas with a big rod, it's got a soft tip, but it's got a lot of backbone to it. So I just like them because when you get a 6 or 7 pounder on, you control the fish. Like, it's got a soft tip, so it lets them get it. But then when you lean into them, it's got some meat to it. It's got some backbone to it, and it really drives that hook in there. When you get the right rod on a chatterbait, you'll stop losing them. There's a lot of people who complain and have problems keeping the fish hooked up, come up and jump, throw it out. But the rod is very important.
So when you feel a fish make contact with a bait, you're just going to continue to reel, and maybe you reach out toward the fish and then make the big sweeping pull.
Yeah, and they'll bite it different. They'll bite it different ways, different times. For the last 10 days or so, when it was real cold, we wouldn't even feel the fish bite. It'd just be vibrating, and it'd stop vibrating, and it would just kind of load up. You'd keep reeling, and it would just load up, and you pull into them. You actually never feel the fish even hit the bait. Whereas last year during the NPFL tournament, I got some GoPro footage, and you could see my rod go boom. Like, they were smoking it and knocking slack in the line, and I'd have to catch up to them and then set the hook. So it just kind of depends.
What's your go-to trailer on a chatterbait?
I like any kind of straight tail trailer. This is the Crush City freeloader, and I just like that straight tail action. I don't like crawl kickers or swim baits because it lifts my chatterbait up too much. I don't prefer that. So any kind of straight tail. I've thrown a fluke, I've thrown a Zoom fluke. I like the freeloader. Hog Farmer makes a good one. Any kind of straight tail action.
I'm absolutely with you on that. And I'm you're approximately 100 times a better bass angler than I am. But one of the reasons I like the straight tail is because it allows the bait to hunt better. Yeah. If you start adding a lot of appendages, that's going to eliminate that bait from hunting, in my experience.
Yeah, especially when you're in the grass. Like, you rip it out, and like that's something kind of live scope has taught, is like the action of a chatterbait. You rip it out. Sometimes you rip it out, and when you snatch it, it kind of shoots to the left or shoots to the right, and then as it's falling, it might shoot different directions as well. Whereas if you do have a crawl on there, it's going to keep it more straight. It's going to kind of fall straight. It's not going to really have that action to it.
Right now, I asked you to bring your MVB from 2025 Most Valuable Bait. Did you even hesitate, or was that just a no-brainer?
That was a no-brainer.
What percentage of the time when you hit the water in competition, what percentage of the time is there a rod in your boat with a chatterbait or bladed jig tied on?
100.
That much?
Yeah, I got one every time. Might not throw it every time. Let's see. Like, I definitely threw it at Santee. Then we went to Norman. I had one tied on. I actually caught him better on the spinnerbait when I went to Norman. I had one tied on when we went to Douglas. I caught a few on it when we went to the St. Lawrence. I caught a few on it when I went to Eufaula. And then Logan Martin. That's pretty much all I threw when we went to Logan Martin. So,
Do you skip it a lot under boat docks or overhangs and stuff like that?
I'll put that thing wherever. It doesn't like wood very much. So if I'm fishing around a bunch of laydowns and stuff, I might have to switch it up a little bit. But if there's no hanging around sunken trees, I'm going with the chatterbait around docks, around grass, chunk rock.
I think my friend Daniel Nussbaum, the president of Z-Man, has told me they're working on one that manages wood better.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there.
That'd be good. If everything's the same about it and it just like maybe it like sees the wood and swims away by itself.
Yeah, there's a camera built in and you guide it with your eyes, ironically, and a special pair of glasses.
Nice. I was hoping you would just say, "Hey, don't get hung up," and it says, "All right, I got you."
Well, that's extra.
Oh,
that's the next level up. Well, that's one of the things I really admire about that company. There are a lot of bladed jigs on the market. Z-Man has obviously started that trend and led the way, but they keep finding a way to reinvent that lure type. And guys like you and Brett Height and Andy Montgomery and people like that, you guys have discovered a lot of different ways to throw the bait and use the bait and ways that work for you. Brian Thrift, my gosh. You guys have revolutionized the use of the bait and brought it to the masses. So I do love that bait. I think it's amazing. And to think that you have one tied on 100% of the time when you hit the water, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I have a couple of rods that I don't throw anything on but a chatterbait. So it's chatterbait on it or there's nothing on it. And I always have one tied on. So, but I don't know.
What's the biggest mistake you think people make when they're throwing a bladed jig? Because I've got a lot of friends, and you do too, who will tell you, I just can't catch anything on it. And for me, I tell them, well, A, I always have more success when the water's a little cooler down here in Florida. And B, I usually think they're probably not fishing it slow enough.
Yeah, that's a lot of what I run into kind of on guide trips is people maybe we're fishing in 8 foot of water, which is a decent depth here on Santee. You can kind of fish anywhere from 1 foot to 10 or 12 foot, something like that. But and you're getting 8 foot of water, and the fish are on the bottom or a foot or two above the bottom, and they'll cast their chatterbait out there and just immediately start winding it, and your chatterbait's 18 inches under the water, and you're not gonna catch anything. So I usually have to constantly remind people, cast it out and let it sink to the bottom. And let it sink to the bottom on a slack line. It's going to get to the bottom faster on a slack line than it is if you just cast it over there and click over your reel and let it fall on a tense line. And then it's kind of pulling it towards you, and it's just not near as efficient. So cast it out there, let it hit the bottom, and then start reeling it.
Hey, Corey Casey, thanks so much for your time, man. We appreciate you on Roundtable. Folks, if you want to book a trip on Santee, Corey Casey's your guy. Not only is he going to put you on fish, but he's going to show you better ways to catch fish wherever you may cast a line. And best of luck, man, in the championship. I'll see you there.
Thank you, sir. See you soon.
Take care.
Later.
All right, folks, that does it with Corey Casey, but a bright future for that young man. That guy knows how to catch them wherever he goes. I mean, 9th place at the St. Lawrence River when he's a lifelong Santee Cooper guy. And I don't know if he's going to win this championship, but I believe he's going to win a big championship one of these days. And it might just happen at Smith Lake.
Hey, I'm Tyler Lindsay with Stony Lonesome OHV Park. Been the park manager here for 12 years. We offer almost 1,500 acres of off-road riding and opportunities with almost 80 miles of trails. We also have a few amenities here on property, small cabins and several units that we rent out in our campground. We do have 2 bathhouses on property, and we also offer a car wash on site. Like I said before, we have about 80 miles worth of trails that we offer, dirt bikes, 4-wheelers, side-by-sides, rock bouncers, Jeeps. We have bicycle enthusiasts and hikers that also come out. We are open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday of each week. We're a very family-oriented park. We love watching different families come out and enjoy the park. We'd love to have y'all guys check us out. Best way to keep in touch with what we have going on here is through Facebook. We also have a website. It is www.stonylonesome.ohv.us. We'd love to have you guys out.
Folks, this next guest, he is entering his 3rd season with the NPFL. His best finish so far is 6th at Logan Martin and Hartwell in 2024. He had a couple of 7th place finishes in 2025. Easily qualifies for the championships. He made a great run at winning the 2025 championship on Hartwell, where he is, quite frankly, the king. He's got 9 career top 30 finishes in just 12 events. His name is Jason Burroughs. Jason, welcome to Roundtable.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great, man. And I'm excited to have you on the show for a lot of reasons. One, you're one of the best anglers on the tour. You're a tremendous talent. You've had a really successful NPFL career. You had a terrific close call at Hartwell. And, coming into Smith Lake, I'm thinking that Smith Lake and Hartwell might kind of play in a similar way. What do you think?
It definitely could. The FLW, they're actually on Hartwell today, and I seen just a little bit of footage. Looks like there's a lot of fish being caught shallow, not a ton of scoping going on. And I would say for sure, if we was at Smith Lake today, there's probably some fish made a move with this warm weather.
Of course, now it's funny that we're talking about the warm weather that's coming in right now, because it looks like we're recording this episode of Roundtable a couple of days early, but it looks like this warm weather is going to go away and a cold front's going to come in right about the time practice starts.
Yeah, definitely going to be a wild card with everybody trying to fish shallow and it being a championship. People want to try to catch largemouth to win at Smith, and a huge cold front comes in right when we get there. I looked, and the high Monday is 40.
Yeah, not exactly a great weather or as far as enjoying a fishing trip, but what would you like to see in weather? What kind of weather would benefit Jason Burroughs and your style of fishing at this time of year?
I would have love for this warm weather to continue and the fish just keep coming. I'm sure some fish has made a move shallow, and I would love for the weather have no cold front at all, for it to be a warming trend. I'd have loved to have been on Smith Lake next week with shorts and fishing ankle deep, wide open, trying to catch largemouth.
All right, now, you surprised me a little bit there, Jason. I'll tell you why. A lot of the veteran tournament pros, the guys who are really good, like you, 6th in AOY last year, enormously impressive. A lot of those guys tell me they prefer grinder type tournaments. But it sounds to me like you like the fishing to be good, and you find a way to excel even when everybody's catching them. Is that?
Yeah, I definitely do. I normally tell everybody if it takes 25 pounds, I might catch 26. If it takes 12, I usually have like 7 or 8 pounds and wonder how they caught 12.
That surprises me, because I really do believe that most guys as good as you are like the grinders. But I love that you're ready for an absolute whack fest if it happens and goes down. But it's also going to be a tough practice situation, I think, for you guys, because not only do you have the cold front coming in on day one of practice, basically, but then practice ends, you have an off day, and then it looks like there's a new warming trend kicking in. So yeah. What value do you hope to gain from the official practice period?
I would say people's gonna, when we get there and we practice, it's gonna be really, really tough and post front and cold. I'm not gonna say practice isn't gonna mean anything, but the guy that excels at Smith, I'd say they're gonna have to take some chances in the tournament and do some stuff that didn't work in practice. Some stuff that's not going to work when it's bright blue skies and a high of 40.
Wonderful observation. And, I've been talking to some of our other guests here on Roundtable for this tournament, and a statement I've made, I want to see if you believe it might be true.
Give me 1 second, Ken.
Of course. Yeah, folks, just to rattle off some more of Jason's accomplishments, just entering his 3rd season with the NPFL, 6th in AOY last year. He's from Hodges, South Carolina, and absolutely a master. He is the man to beat on Lake Hartwell, but he will be also the first guy to admit to you that Hartwell is, as good as he is in the spring and the summer, he sometimes struggles in the fall. But the man took the lead early at Hartwell in the championship last year. Unfortunately, that one slipped away. But Jason, where I was wanting to get with the Smith Lake Championship tournament is, I think there's a great chance that the guy who ultimately wins the tournament will launch on Thursday and have no idea that he's even going to do well.
I would say that's definitely could be, but I say the guy that launches on Thursday that wins the tournament, he's going to be willing to take chances. He's going to understand it's a championship and there's no points, and he's going to be willing to do bad.
Yeah, and speaking of no points, how does that alter your approach to this tournament?
To be honest, like, I guess I showed exactly what it meant to me at Hartwell the last day when, and I hate to say I could have easily ran out there and finished third or fourth, but I really could have easily ran out there and finished third or fourth in the tournament at Hartwell. And I knew I needed 13 or 14 pounds to win, and I chose to stay on the bank trying to win the tournament. I think you're going to have to take chances and understand that points doesn't really matter, and it's a no entry fee championship. So when I say this, it's no insult to the pay, but the pay is not like a tournament that everybody paid $5,200 to enter. The pay, everybody gets paid. So when you say everybody gets paid, last place gets like 2,500, sixth place gets like 5,000. So when you're trying to win 100,000, you get out there and try to win. Like I was willing to give up at Hartwell. I won 5,000. I fell all the way. I made a top 10 up there, but I fell to 7th or 8th the last day when I weighed in 9 pounds. When catching 11 or 12 pounds was real easy offshore. Like the first day when I led, I had done caught 30 fish. I'd done caught 30 fish before I went to the bank, and then caught all big largemouth. So I just kept running pockets and kept looking and trying to run into one pocket and get 2 good bites. You go from 9 to 13, what I needed, in 15 minutes. If you run into them, same thing's going to be at Smith. If you get caught up just catching fish because the place is slammed full of spotted bass, I don't think that's going to be a recipe for winning. Maybe a recipe for doing good and making a top 10. But I don't think just catching a whole bunch of numbers with spotted bass, especially with no scope, which of course we all like, but no scope, it's just not going to be as easy to target those spots anyway.
And you're going to have to catch quality spots. I mean, the 15-inch size limit is going to keep a lot of guys maybe from catching a limit. I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out. But do you think you're going to have some quality largemouths as kickers to do well in the championship?
I definitely think so. If some's on the bank, like I think if we were fishing starting today, I think for sure people would catch them. To be honest, I don't know what it's going to do getting to 40 a couple days. If we get there and we're fishing in a lake that's 200 foot deep and no fish is pulled up, it's going to be extremely challenging to try to figure out how to catch some good ones. And I tell everybody, I know this isn't a conversation about scope, but 10 years ago, you could go to Smith, I'm sure, and fish the center of those ditches and catch fish without scope with no problem. But now, while we're sitting here doing this round table, those fish are getting pounded by every minnow that in Alabama, like people's done threw out of them 1 million times. They're a whole lot more challenging to catch when they're out there roaming around than they used to be.
Yeah, it's do you have a lot of experience on Smith Lake?
No, not at all. I've been there. I fished a regional there one time, and I made a top 20. I finished somewhere around like 15th or something like that, but it was in the fall. Had 200 boats, but no, I've only been there 2 times. I actually qualified for a Fishers of Men National that was on Hartwell, and we traveled to Smith to try to make it back to Hartwell.
You've been remarkably successful on that series as well. One thing I'll say about Jason Burroughs, I haven't known you a long time, but I know you're enormously modest about your skills, sir. Too much so, in my opinion. You got a lot going on. You're really, really talented. But I hate to bring this up, but I'm standing off the stage pretty much every day at these tournaments. And you had told me going into the championship on Hartwell that it wasn't your time of year. It was a time of year when you struggle. You thought maybe you could put something together, but you weren't as optimistic as I thought you should have been given your skills out there. then you find yourself in the lead. On the final day, as you mentioned, you struggled. You could have gone out and caught a bunch of fish and put yourself in the top 2 or 3 or 4, but you didn't. You went for the win, and coming off the stage, you were disappointed and a little emotional. Did you learn anything from that tournament? Did you have a positive takeaway from that, or was it just all disappointment?
Leading up to the tournament, Hartwell, like I was really worried about doing like really bad, even after practice. Like I was worried about finishing, in the 30s or just not catching them. I knew I was going to catch plenty of fish, but the 9 or 10 pounds or 11 pounds you were catching on a fluke, I knew wasn't going to be any good. And to be honest, I've got as much experience on Hartwell as anybody, like anybody in South Carolina.
Yeah.
But like the fish I caught day 1 and day 2 and everything I ran day 3, like it was totally new. Like I did not practice that way. I had no idea those fish were on the bank. I just kind of got fed up with catching fish after fish that was the same size. And really, I went to the bank trying to catch one big one. I just thought if I can go to the bank and spend an hour or so and catch one big one to go with what I got, it'll save my day. And so that's what I'm thinking. If I can just catch one big one, it would save my day. And I go to the bank trying to catch one big one, and the first pocket I go in, I catch a 4.5. And of course, you catch a 4.5, you stay on the bank. And the next pocket I run in, I catch another 4.5 and a 2.5, which at the time, a 2.5 would have been the best one I had before I caught the 2 4.5. So in 30 or 40 minutes, the best 3 I got come on the bank. So of course, I didn't leave the bank the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, it was such a close call, and I hate for you that it did not work out. But you had such a great year last year, 6th place in AOY, put yourself in a position to win that championship and so forth. Was there a key bait for you last season? I'm calling it MVB, a most valuable bait in 2025 for Jason Burroughs.
Yeah, there definitely was, but everybody around here, they're gonna definitely laugh about it because I've caught them all over the world on it now, but I've definitely caught them on it forever. Won a boat in the Fisherman National last year and caught them on a Reaction Innovation Skinny Dipper. And then I actually went to Norman and caught them on it at Norman, made a top 10 in the NPFL at Norman. And I told everybody when we was at St. Lawrence, like I definitely didn't do enough up there to have a camera, but it would have been some great footage. I caught them on a flipping stick and 50-pound braid and a 20-pound leader, and just swimming a skinny dipper on top over shallow rocks. And so I caught them pretty much all over the place. I'd love for y'all to get to see it on camera at Smith next week.
Well, I think it could absolutely happen, man. I'm expecting you to be a real threat in that tournament. You're a threat to win every tournament you enter, as far as I can tell. Can you show us the skinny dipper? Maybe one of your go-to colors?
Yeah. I normally throw a white trash, but I had this one rigged up. It's just a.
I'm going to maximize your part of the screen here.
Here comes the rain.
So everybody can see you. Uh-oh.
It's just a skinny dipper on a hook. I just swim it on top and throw it on a 7.3 medium heavy chaotic. A 7.3 medium heavy chaotic custom rod. Jason Williamson makes them all in the United States. They're phenomenal. Definitely a good ride. And
if you need to get out of that rain, grab your phone and get yourself
let's see.
Cover. I'll keep talking while you find some cover. Now the Reaction Innovations, of course, Andre Moore's company out of Alabama, probably most famous for the Sweet Beaver, one of the classic punching baits of all time. And you're talking about that skinny dipper, which is a little swim bait. It's been around quite a while too. I mean, isn't it getting close to maybe 20 years old?
I have no idea. Can you see me here?
I can see you great, man. Perfect.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've definitely caught a bunch of fish on it. And I throw it, on a jig head, skip it under docks. I'm sure at Smith, probably be skipping it around some floating docks and stuff, but I also throw it some weightless.
Yeah, I saw it. Now, the one you showed us there was weightless.
Mm-hmm.
And is that your go-to? How shallow or deep will you throw the weightless version?
It just depends if the fish are wanting to feed up, like and sometimes I throw it on a weighted hook. So there's definitely some different ways to rig it. But it does throw and swim good just on a hook.
Now, do you have a go-to hook for that?
I thought I would have to look at the pack, but it's just a 6/0 Gamakatsu, pretty much just a worm hook.
Now, here in Florida, where I live, the skinny dipper and things like the Gambler Big Easy,
Sure.
those kind of baits are stock in trade. Uh, they get thrown a lot, but I'm a little surprised that, given where you're fishing Hartwell a lot and stuff like that, I had no idea it would be such a big go-to for you. What is it about the bait? It's obviously very versatile. A lot of ways you can rig it. Uh, is it one of those baits that you pretty much have tied on every day you hit the water?
Um, Most days, yeah. I mean, anytime I'm fishing shallow around docks, or like you said, in Florida, we have the Harris chain coming up. There's no doubt I'll definitely throw it around some grass down there. It just swims good, and there's a bunch of copies, and a bunch of people has tried to make one that swims like it, but that one, I guess they've just got it exactly right where it will throw and swim. And again, I'm not sponsored by them. I'd love to be, because I definitely use plenty of them. But
Well, Andre Moore, Kim Bain Moore, you need to be listening to this show. We're going to forward it to you so you can get Jason Burroughs on the pro staff right away. He's got it going on with the skinny dipper. Now you mentioned skipping it. Are you skipping it on bait casting gear, or are you throwing a weightless one on a spinning rod?
no, I would definitely skip it on a bait caster, just like a 1/4 ounce ball head.
Okay,
Yep.
got to be good to do that, Jason. You can't be Ken Duke and do that.
I don't know. I might hit more docks than I skip under, but I'll get under a few of them.
Now, I'm not. I don't know, obviously, but I'm just saying. I think that a bait like that could be a pretty good tool at Smith Lake next week, around those boat docks, or even in the open water around rocks.
It definitely could. Definitely could. You could definitely catch some, on bluffs with it, or around floating docks with it, or of course, skipping under docks.
Now, you mentioned the chaotic rod, Jason Williamson, a fellow pro of yours on the NPFL, also an Elite Series guy. That's his company. Tell us that rod again that you like, or the action and the length and so forth.
I use a 7.3 medium heavy, but I guess, like, I've threw it on a 7.6 medium heavy before, but 7.3 medium heavy, you can do anything with it. Like, it's got enough tip where you can skip with it, you can make long casts with it. It's got enough tip where, when a fish gets it and it's on top, they can get it and don't feel you, and you can get a good hook on them. And it's a versatile rod that you can fish anything on. You can tie a shaky head on it. You could tie a Carolina rig on it. You could fish a spinner bait, or a treble hook bait like a Seville or something in open water. Top water, a big top water. I use same exact rod for like a big walking bait. Or you could fish it around cover, and I threw my frog on it last year at Douglas, and flipped bushes with a swim jig on it last year at Douglas. So I've
Yeah,
definitely got plenty of 7.3s. If I didn't have anything but a 7.3, I could get through the year.
that's impressive. Yeah, I think that 7 foot to 7.4, 7.5 medium heavy casting rod's an incredibly versatile tool, and I know Jason Williamson makes a good one at Chaotix. How about what is your go-to reel when you're throwing that skinny dipper?
I use a 8-to-1 7 reel, and man, it is I use a high speed reel, especially if I'm fishing like herring fish, or even if I'm throwing around a blowdown or something, and you swim it by the end of it, and you want to reel it in, I have it on a high speed reel where I can get it back and throw it again.
And you mentioned Sevin. That's Seviin. That's the St. Croix brand, of course,
That's
and you
correct.
like that. And that's a pretty fast reel.
Yeah, I slow it down. Like, I don't reel it. I don't always reel it real fast. Sometimes I do burn it. Sometimes I reel it slow, but I throw it on a fast reel where, when I decide I want to get it back, that I can reel it in.
Is that pretty much standard for you, Jason? Do you like a really fast reel, and you
I
can just slow
do.
it down?
I do. I'll throw like a chatterbait or a spinnerbait on a 6 to 1, but yeah, I do. And a 7 reel, they're not a super expensive reel, like real affordable, but still a really good reel.
Yeah, they make quality products at St. Croix. Obviously, those guys know what they're doing, whether it's rods or reels or whatever. How about the line? You mentioned earlier that you were throwing over some shallow rocks and you had braid with a fluorocarbon leader. What's your go-to? Smith Lake is very clear. It's very deep. I'm guessing you're going to go straight fluorocarbon there. What will you do?
I probably will. It wouldn't hurt to have braid with just a little short 18-inch leader or so. I think when you're reeling something on top, they don't really pay it much attention. But yeah, I'll throw a fluorocarbon, mainly straight fluorocarbon. And I throw Gamma. I'm not sponsored by them either. But there's definitely some better casting line out there, and there's definitely some better, some line that don't have as much memory. But when I swing with Gamma, it don't break. Like it's the strongest. I'd rather not get one bite than break one off that I know I needed to catch. So I trust it, and I fish with Gamma on about everything I use.
That's a really interesting statement to me. As a guy who's written stories with pros for a long, long time now, I think maybe the audience doesn't appreciate the fact, at least in my history, that pros tend to go heavier than the general public realizes. You hear a lot about finesse, and you hear a lot about guys using 6-pound test and stuff like that, but and maybe that gets guys more bites. But I think generally speaking, the pros will ramp up a notch where an average casual angler might use 6, a pro will use 8 or 10 because he doesn't want to miss any of the strikes that come. Is that a fair statement or no?
It is for me. I don't really use light line for anything, to be honest. Like I use 10 Gamma with on my spinning rods. Like if I do have a spinning rod with a fluorocarbon leader, I use 10 Gamma, but 10 Gamma is like 12 or so anything else. And then any kind of power fishing, I use 16 or 20, and 16 is still pretty dang strong with Gamma.
Yeah.
Like it's more like using an 18-pound or something, and the diameter's bigger as well, but it holds. When you swing, it holds.
Well, that matters a lot. All right, maybe a strange question for you, especially in light of the fact that we talked about what a championship is all about. What will be a successful championship tournament on Smith Lake for Jason Burroughs? Where do you have to finish to feel like you had a successful event?
Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going out there and try to win. Like I guess that's a better question after practice. Like at Hartwell, after I'd done so bad at practice, I was willing to just try to get through the tournament, and then you have a chance to win. But I hang around some of these guys that are definitely better than me, and it don't matter how their practice goes. Like if I'm hanging around Kyle or Drew or Patrick, like them guys think they're going to win. It don't matter if they caught one or not. So like I'm definitely at least going to be that way until I go practice for 2 or 3 days and don't catch anything.
Well, I think you're a pretty good bet to do awfully well at Smith Lake. You got some next level skills, sir. You surprised me when we spoke the other day because you told me that you're going to miss a day of practice. You've got a derby coming up on Lake Murray in South Carolina that you can't miss. So you'll actually miss a day of practice for the championship.
Yeah, it's actually a derby on Kiowee. I have a derby.
Okay.
I'm going to fish here tomorrow, but then I've got to be at Kiowee Sunday, and then I'm going to get off the lake, be packed up, and drive straight to Smith. So it'll be about a 6-hour drive after fishing a tournament Sunday to get there and get started. But I've never missed a day of practice for the NPFL. So it'll be my first. We'll see how it goes.
Well, hopefully it won't cost you. Hopefully you'll get dialed in, and with all the weather changes and the off day on Wednesday, it's going to be a challenge to make the most of practice no matter what. But Jason Burroughs, you're going to be a threat, man. You're a threat to win every derby you enter, and I'm going to look forward to seeing you high on the leaderboard at Smith Lake.
Well, I appreciate it. If you see me catching some, you'll know they were caught real shallow.
Good to know, brother. We appreciate you, Jason Burroughs. Thanks for joining us on Roundtable.
Yep. Have a good day. Thanks.
Hey, that's a wrap for this edition of Roundtable. Thank you for joining us and for supporting the NPFL. Our championship on Lewis Smith Lake in Alabama begins Thursday, February 26th, a 3-day event. Our live weigh-ins on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday start at 3:30 p.m. Central. You can check them out on YouTube. You can check them out on the NPFL website. That's where Big Al McCulloch, these weigh-ins, Big Al McCulloch is going to bring the boom. You don't want to miss that. Come on out to the weigh-in. It's going to be at Smith Lake Park in Cullman, Alabama. You can meet the pros, get some autographs, learn a lot about bass fishing. These guys are welcoming, they're friendly, and they're incredibly knowledgeable. Our live coverage, Luke Duncan and Fat Cat Newton, those guys are the best. And they're going to bring you all the action from the water between 8 a.m. Central and 1 p.m. Central Time. My name is Ken Duke. I will be back tomorrow, and I will catch you then.